Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into something that's a total game changer for modern India, the National Education Policy of 2020. This thing is a massive blueprint, and it's designed to completely reshape the country's entire learning landscape, all the way from preschool right up to higher ed. So let's get right into it.
But first, you've got to ask, why was such a huge change even necessary? Well, this number, it pretty much tells the whole story. Over 5 crore, that's 50 million elementary school students in India, can't read or do basic math properly. The policy itself doesn't just call this a problem, it calls it a learning crisis. And that's what makes this whole thing not just an update, but a really urgent national mission.
All right, so to really get our heads around this massive policy, we're going to tackle it in 6 key parts. First, we'll look at why a change was so badly needed. Then, we'll unpack that brand new 5+3+3+4 blueprint. We'll also see how classroom learning itself is being totally reimagined, cover the new rules for teachers and exams, explore the big focus on making sure education is for everyone, and finally, we'll talk about the grand vision for India as a knowledge superpower.
So let's kick things off with the why. The last major education policy was written way back in 1986. Just stop and think for a second about how much the world has changed since then. This section is all about understanding that gap, the gap between an old, outdated system and what a student really needs to succeed in the 21st century.
Here's a quick side-by-side that makes it super clear. The old 10+2 system was really rigid. It was all about cramming facts, rote memorization. And it built these really high walls between science, arts, and commerce. But today's world, it runs on things like AI, big data, and solving complex global problems. That requires flexibility, critical thinking, and being able to pull ideas from different fields. And that's exactly what the NEP 2020 is designed to build.
Okay, now for the single biggest change in the whole policy. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this explainer, make it this. The policy completely scraps the old 10+2 model and brings in this new 5+3+3+4 structure. And this isn't just a simple name change, it is a fundamental rethinking on a child's entire journey through school. So let's break this down. The first 5 years, that's the foundational stage, is all about learning through play and activity. The next 3 years are the preparatory stage, where light textbooks are introduced. Then you've got the 3-year middle stage, with actual subject teachers for more abstract ideas. And finally, the 4-year secondary stage, which offers a lot more depth, and importantly, a lot more flexibility for students to choose their own subjects. Now, what is truly revolutionary here is this new focus on ECCE, or Early Childhood Care and Education. For the very first time, kids from ages 3 to 6 are being brought into the formal school structure. And this is so critical because all the science tells us that over 85% of a child's core brain development happens before they even turn 6. This reform is about building a super strong foundation right from day one. So, we have the new structure, right? The new blueprint is in place. But what's actually going to happen inside the classroom? This is where we move from the structure to the substance, focusing on a complete shift in how we teach and what we teach. So what does this actually look like? Well, the big idea is to move away from just memorizing facts for an exam and toward really understanding the core concepts. The curriculum itself is getting trimmed down to focus on the essentials, which makes more room for critical thinking and inquiry. Those rigid streams are gone. So yeah, a student who loves physics can also study fashion design. And super important, the policy says that wherever possible, teaching should be in the mother tongue or regional language up to at least grade 5, simply because it helps kids understand things better.
And check this out. This is a fantastic example of the new focus on practical, real-world skills. For kids in grades 6 to 8, there will be a 10-day bagless period. Instead of going to class with their books, they'll go and intern with local professionals. We're talking carpenters, gardeners, artists, you name it. It's all about linking what you learn in a book to real life and giving respect to vocational skills.
The policy also tweaks the approach to languages. It keeps the idea of a 3-language formula, but the key word here is flexibility. The actual choice of which 3 languages to learn is up to the states and the students. The only conditions are that at least 2 of them have to be native to India, and, this is a big one, absolutely no language will be forced on any state.
A great new curriculum is only as good as the teachers who teach it and the exams that measure it. That brings us to some really critical reforms for both our educators and the way we assess student learning. This table just sums up the whole shift perfectly. Exams are no longer going to be a test of how well you can memorize things, they're going to focus on core skills and critical thinking. The report card is getting a makeover too, from just a list of marks to a 360-degree holistic report that includes what the student thinks of their own work and what their classmates think. And board exams, they're going to be lower stakes, and students will even get a second shot to improve their scores in the same year. And to guide this whole transformation, a brand new National Assessment Center called PARAKH is being set up. It's a bit of a long name, but its job is simple: to get all the different school boards on the same page, making sure that assessments across the country are fair, consistent, and actually measure a student's all-round development.
And to really empower our teachers, the policy is all about making teaching a more professional field. By the year 2030, the minimum qualification to become a teacher will be a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree. This is a huge step toward making sure our educators are highly trained, highly respected, and ready for the modern classroom.
Look, a world-class education system doesn't mean a thing if it isn't accessible to every single child. So this next part gets to the very heart of the policy's social vision, making sure no child gets left behind, no matter their background or circumstances. The policy introduces this term SEDGs. It stands for Socioeconomically Disadvantaged Groups, and the definition is intentionally made really broad. It covers everything from gender and geography to disability and social identity. The goal here is to think inclusively so we can identify and then tackle the specific challenges that each of these different groups might be facing.
And here are some of the actual, concrete plans to make this happen. Special education zones will be set up to pump more resources into disadvantaged areas. A new gender inclusion fund will be created to specifically support female and transgender students. And a lot of work will go into building infrastructure to make schools totally accessible for children with special needs. This is about making inclusion a reality on the ground.
So, after all of that, where is this whole thing heading? What's the ultimate goal that connects all these different reforms? Well, it's about nothing less than transforming India's future by turning it into a global hub for knowledge and innovation.
This quote, taken right from the policy document, just captures the spirit of it all perfectly. The goal is to build an education system that's not only modern and top-notch, but also deeply connected to India's own culture and values. The endgame is to create a fair and dynamic knowledge society by empowering every single citizen with a great education.
The National Education Policy 2020 is, without a doubt, one of the most ambitious and forward-thinking educational reforms happening anywhere in the world. The blueprint is incredible, but the ultimate question, and the biggest challenge, really comes down to implementation. Can this amazing vision on paper become a reality in every single classroom for every single child in India?